So my dogs have completely destroyed my back porch, and I mean they've absolutely wrecked it. As you can see, there's just a general accumulation of urine and filth. This concrete that was once white is all brown. They've rusted away at the table legs in my gym. They ate all the cushions off my workout equipment. Had to take all my plants out of here because they destroyed them. And over time, I would pressure wash, bleach, clean the space, make it brand new again. And of course that led to the paint peeling off the aluminum, which then led to the aluminum corroding from the environment and the dog urine, which is highly corrosive. As a result of this, I've had to go ahead and find a new solution for a space for them to hang out while I work during the day. So what I've come up with is to buy a kennel. You see, I have this big space out back where I used to keep the Toyota Celica, and having gotten rid of the Celica, I now have space that I can prepare for building a kennel, which will allow my dogs to have their own space to hang out and give me back my porch. And there you have it. The whole thing is built now. I did have to make some modifications. In particular, the roof beams are held to the frame and to each other because they're a three-piece thing, and just slide in. There's no bolt or anything. So I shot a self-tapping screw into each one of those connections. I also ran into kind of some fitment issues there. Like, it was impossible to get them to, you know, bottom out in the center if you bottomed them out in the corner. So I had to loosen some bolts and do some massaging to get it all in, but it's all in, it's all said and done. So I'm gonna move this over, bolt it down to the ground, and then my dogs are going to be able to come into the space. And I'm also gonna move that over and just use some L brackets to bolt it down onto the concrete so it can't go anywhere. So that's the next phase of that. I also want to build a couple dog houses inside of here with a soft, like, thick rubber flooring so my dogs can lay down comfortably. And I'm going to run plumbing. The reason I'm going to run plumbing is because I'm getting this water trowel that has a float valve in it. So basically it fills up with water, and when the dogs drink it below a certain threshold, the float valve causes the hose to open and fill it back up. So that'll just guarantee that my dogs always have fresh water at all times. And then I want to build like an automated feeder, so I'm going to add that in there. And then just those dog houses for them to lay comfortably, and it needs to have a thick rubber flooring, like made out of car tire or something, because otherwise they will dig it up and eat it. So more to come on this. I'm gonna keep cracking on it, but these guys are definitely moving in here, and I'm gonna get my porch back. Not a bad structure overall. I mean, if I had to grade this like a teacher, I'd say it's about a B-. You know, the fit leaves a lot to be desired, but overall the structure is pretty decent, and for the price, I really can't complain. I really didn't expect much better, to be honest with you. I think it's plenty good for for what I paid for it. I want to say this was like $250 all said and done. So no complaints on my end. I'm just gonna move it over and do the L brackets so I can bolt it down and then figure out the rest of the little details I want to add in here. Now, unfortunately, there's no way that the crummy little riveted on hinges that are on the door for this kennel would ever work with my big strong bulldogs, so I had to upgrade to some better hardware. Now, these have a built-in spring, that white one that kind of closes the door automatically in a sense, and it's basically on there in a temporary fashion just so I could get the fitment, because those sheet metal, you know, kind of self-tapping type screws that are on there will never hold up to my dog's abuse. So the next step that I'm going to perform now is to remove those one by one, through drill and install bolts that go all the way through and have washers and nuts and are locked in place, because that's going to take the beating my dog's going to give it. So now I'm going to fill the leftover hinge holes up with some epoxy putty. I had some JB water weld left over, so I'll be using that. It's basically an epoxy putty. You kind of just mix the two parts together between your fingers, and then you pop it in anywhere and let it dry. It's pretty good stuff. In order to make this place safe for my dogs and able to contain my dogs, I had to do a couple things, right, in order to improve upon what came here. So the first thing I had to do is the following. So I purchased a bunch of L brackets, 8 in total, at Home Depot, and every single one of the 8 major posts on this structure is now tied into one of those brackets through a bolt and nut, which is in turn attached to the concrete via 2.5 inch long, 1/4 inch thick Tapcons. And that is so that my large American Bulldog German Shepherd mix won't just beat this structure out of position and lift it up and escape, because she very much would. There's another little thing. So if you think of the 6 beams that are interconnected by the roof, right, they're solid, but there's 2 in the center, one in front and one in back, that did not connect to the roof in any way, shape, or form. So I went ahead and bought some square tube, which I measured and cut to length, and I also welded a piece of metal at the very top with a nut welded on the opposite end, so that I could use the bolt that comes down through the top here, right, thread that bolt into this, and this goes inside the tube and then is bolted through in a couple of locations such that this is rigidly attached, and now this is attached to the roof of the structure. So you can see I've done the same exact thing in the back. Forgot to mention, but on the brackets attaching the cage or the kennel, as it were, down to the concrete, I've also put a layer of, like, it's like aluminized roof flashing that has oxybutyl backing between it and the concrete, just so moisture from the floor can't come up into that bracket and eventually rust it. So that's there as an isolation, and obviously I painted it black to match everything. So here is the next phase of making this thing feasible as a home for my dogs. Is I gave my dogs a bath this weekend, and you know, gave the small one a bath first, put him in here because I wanted them to go into the space nice and clean, and I went to go bathe my other dog, and who shows up and greets us as I'm bathing her? And it's my little dog. So as it turns out, even though he doesn't look like he does, he can in fact squeeze in between those bars. He does in fact fit between those bars. which he certainly doesn't look like he can. He's way too large looking, but the guy has some contortionist abilities. Let's just say that he is very appropriately named El Chapo. There is not a cage that can contain this man, and he is an expert at digging tunnels, actually. So, like his namesake, it's not easy to restrain the guy. So, you know, he's always got an ingenious way of escaping and getting out. And he won't just escape from my yard. Oh, he'll escape from my neighbor's yard and that guy's yard. Sometimes he's escaped and I'm calling him and I get up on top of something to look for him and he's 4 houses down. And that's just the reality with him. Alright, so let's get to work adding this mesh so that we can hopefully fully contain my incredible dog. Cut myself already. Fantastic. Alright, so I did all the mesh all the way around, and my dogs have actually been happily living inside here for a while now, about a week, and haven't really had any problems. They're having a good time of it. They seem to enjoy the space, which I'm happy about. They enjoy being outside, getting a breeze. It's much more breezy than inside my porch. My porch has good breeze, but here, you know, there's no sheet halfway up, so the breeze comes all the way through, not just toward the top. It's nice. They enjoy. I have noticed small escape attempts, so I gotta fix that a little bit better there. See the wire there on the bottom is all mangled. I gotta move it over and tie it. So It's definitely possible for them to escape if you're not careful. I also noticed that the bolts on the door are kind of loose, so I've bought myself some Loctite 277. That's for fasteners that are going to be up against vibration and such. Usually you need like a torch to heat the stuff up and get the bolts out after this, but yeah, I'm about to do this on the entire door because my American Bulldog is something else. Let's do a little work, shall we? I've put the dogs out on the old porch, so doing their thing. I'll partially loosen these fasteners and then drop the Loctite on them. Loctite head of the bolt. Just gonna prevent that from backing out. There are numerous hits from my excited Bulldog. I have no doubt this dog's going to put all of this stuff to the test, so. Make sure we have it up to snuff, because she's going to check it. She's definitely going to check it. So that Loctite cures. She won't be able to destroy the door with ease anymore, so. That's a good thing to do. Probably do it to a few of the structure bolts, especially around the areas where she likes to stand, so that'll help to keep it all together. And there you have it. My dogs are hanging out in their kennel. I'm probably going to be bringing them back into the porch again for a little bit. The main reason is that I had some comfortable like soft mats for them. You gotta have that because you don't want your dogs laying on concrete, obviously, but these guys tend to eat said mats, chew them to shreds and literally swallow the chunks and poop them out. So I will be building kind of a small pair of, or maybe just one slightly larger like crate in the corner that's going to have a rubber stall mat, the type you use for horses. It's made out of like recycled car tire or something real tough that they can't dig into, and that's going to be kind of shrouded on the edges with the structure so that they can't get at the edges, because if they can get at the edges at the corners, they're going to chew on it and destroy it, even if it's made out of car tire. That is impressive, but yes, she can do that, and then the little guy likes to chew on stuff too. So obviously they have their toys that they chew on and we throw around and stuff, but that won't stop them from eating anything soft that you leave in their vicinity. It's just the way they are. So I'm going to build a nice new structure in the corner that's going to have that soft stall mat, that's going to be where they can sleep at night, and you know, just kind of give them a little comfortable space where they can kind of hide out. This place is pretty shady for most of the day. You've got my avocado tree on one side and my neighbor's tree overhanging from the back. So even during the brightest, hottest part of the day, it's actually really nice in there. I hung out in there and just sat around and worked from there because I work from home. And it was actually not bad at all because, again, I have a corner lot and it's pretty breezy here. So I was able to just hang out there and enjoy it. And these guys are having a great time. They're barking at stuff, you know. They're seeing different sights and sounds, and they seem to be enjoying it thus far. And every day when I come, let them out and play, and then we feed and all that other stuff, they're always, you know, happy. So I have no complaints. They don't seem to be struggling to adapt. They've always been outdoor dogs. They've lived on my back porch forever. This is just a whole different thing because it's their own space. Now the porch can get cleaned up and just be ready for other things. You can see they're trying to hunt a lizard. But yeah, these guys have killed possums, they've killed rat, they've killed birds actually, they've killed like any number of lizards and toads. This guy and his now defunct little brother actually discovered a technique for killing toads where basically they run up and pop it with their fangs so that they don't get it in their mouth, because they realize that the toads, you know, have substances on them that are not nice. And can cause hallucination or something. I'm assuming at some point they got high and then realized they don't want to directly bite them. So yeah, well, that's a very key thing. If your dogs aren't smart enough to not eat toads, then you probably don't want to keep them outside in Florida. Granted, if your dog tends to be an outdoor dog versus a dog that you just took on a walk and goes outside, they tend to learn these things at an early age, and they used to, typically they're smarter about that sort of thing, so it's not as much of an issue. But lots of considerations. Definitely it's different from keeping a dog indoors. We're not from indoors either. Homes are something we invented. We're from outside, they're from outside. They're an animal, they can do just fine outside, and as a matter of fact, so can you. Get off your couch, get out of your AC. It's killing you slowly, you know, between the mold, the radon, and just lethargy and sitting around not doing anything. Get outside, get some sun, it's good for you. For those who want to make some asinine comment about me keeping my dogs outdoors, that's my feedback to you. Get your silly butt outside and breathe some actual air that hasn't been recycled through your AC system 20 million times and laced with mold. Anywho, that is the end of this video. I'll definitely follow up when I do the little doghouse setup inside of there. If you've enjoyed this video, feel free to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you're notified when I post up another one. If you have any questions, feel free to leave that in the comment section. And if you write some dumb comment about me keeping my dog outside, I'm just gonna block you, so spare yourself and me the trouble. Thank you very much for watching.